All right, let's break down the part 2 and 3 in the next 3.5 to 7 years, and America and the tribulation and great tribulation, so you can all understand the time that you are in, because the dawn is starting to lose his light, and he's going behind the moon, and that's Kamala. And 9:23:24 marks the end of the 7 years. The woman is covered by the sun, and this is going along with dawn going behind Kamala and losing, in a matter of speaking. And then we see Biden coming in and putting on the MAGA hat. So this is kind of that red blood moon in a way, where that's her power source. She's the moon reflecting his light, but she's also the moon reflecting the dawn's light or whatever. So this is where she's coming in and riding the voice of so-called Lady Liberty. And then Trump is that man of sin, who's being taken to the cross and all those things. And as he goes down into the lower depths of earth or whatever, this is where he can reign and gather his kingdom and such. So as he goes behind the shadows and loses his power and his light, then this is where Kamala comes in, and then she's the woman who rides the beast. We could see where the climate czar takes over, or the crowning of the corona and the X marks the spot, the armies that gather, that can break open or whatever. All these types of things can tie to that ring of fire birth and whatever. But as part 2 and part 3 replay, we're also watching part 1 in fast forward, rewind modes, but we're going to watch part 1 at the same time as part 2 and 3 in a reflection, because we see that Michael J. Fox was played by Eric Stoltz, and then we can see Don Jr. or Eric Trump or Ivanka, those types of people. And then Jared Kushner might be an Israel spy, and those types of things we could see interwoven. Either way, folks, the part 2, okay, is starting between the Labor Day. Okay, we got the second stage setting up. All right, but not everybody is back in their seats per se, or whatever, right? Some people come in late to the stage, and depending where you're sitting up on the screen or whatever, depending where you're at in the theater, if you're sitting up close to the front row, you're not going to see the whole big picture. You're not going to see who's coming in behind or who's in the door or whatever, right? Also, you got the credits and the where you got the music playing, that Musk playing, that Musk kit, and then you have the and that's also this stuff or whatever. But the shoot, I forgot where it was. Oh, the theater. If you sit in the back and you see the big picture, all right, you can see everything going. You can see who sits there, who sits there. When the lights are drawn down, you may not even, sitting in the front row, you may not realize the lights are down or whatever. Okay, and then if you're talking and whatever kind of thing. So think of the theater, the theater, and the we at her, the weather. So the weather also, I'm thinking about it. The weather and the we at her, that weather warfare and all those things. This is where they can say this, that, and the other, and then they can end up changing it at the end, because people are like, well, how does the weather change based on whatever, okay? Well, it's because you haven't done your research and you don't know about how they can heat up or cool down the ionosphere, or they can add this, that, or the other, and they can fly through a cloud, and you see the cloud there, and then they fly through and it just starts dispersing and it's gone. So they have things where they can manipulate the weather, and it's also Air Force has said in the 70s that the United States will control all the weather by 2025. And once you understand how God's light shines through men and we're the lampstands, we come in and create this heaven and earth. This earth pretty much only runs because we live on it, and we only live on it because of this earth. So it's a beast system, and the beast comes and goes, and it only exists because it all works together. Okay, one can't be without the other. So there's basically the projection, and then Earth. That's also the projection when you look at the screen, all right, in the movies, and then you see the flatness. That's what we live on. And then if certain conditions are right, okay, you can look and see the beam and follow it back and whatever else. But it's kind of where we're at now, where we can track this beam. We can see this hallway of mirrors where this beam is coming from and whatever else, because the smoke has filled the air, and they're about to reveal the new heaven and earth and all those things. We're making our way back into the back closet of Oz, behind the curtain. All these things that we're shown, okay? We're shown all these things of the earthly so we can understand the heavenly, all right? The invisible works through the visible. So if we can understand the visible, okay, then we can understand the invisible. So the people that live by the visible, that carnal nation and such, okay, they're the ones who's going to be shocked the most, because that's when all these changes come up or whatever, and their old light goes dark, and they realize they're in the cave. As they realize they're in the cave, they're coming up to a new light. Look, I can't take those. I'm just going back. So the part 2, the 11, the 47 and such, all right, that's released in full for that November 22nd, according to that box office, all right, and we see the things lining up, and that's, 9/23 to that 11/22, that's a little nice little 2 month for that 4D 2 months and such, and then from there, we see the 16/11 gap from the election from the I'm getting my numbers mixed up. 16/11 from the trial date, or from the election date to the day before the election, all right, and that's all lining up to your 16/11, your 9/11, the win on 9/11. That's the 45, 47, and all those things, because that's the script for the world stage to gather this nation of Babylon, or the nation of Satan per se, where you can't do anything. You got to repent of all things, of all your senses. You cannot be a man. You must be the slave monkey. And you live on a cartoon space ball. And you're going to be scared of all the air and the earth and all this other stuff as you're taking into a new time. As the red planet is coming upon the earth. And the red, that's the Republican plan net, the net for the internet, and that gathering of the fishies, the fishies. And then the people in Babylon, they cast down their window into heaven, the Nimrods. And so on. So that's where there'll be an important time where these beast men who've been seared by the 666, well, that's the mark of the beast. I can't do this, that, and the other. Okay, I gotta say no. That's gonna be their birth per se. Okay, where they come into the world and they just don't know nothing. All right, so as we got the 2 and the 3, all right, the 2 is in full force around November and the election and all those things, the 22nd, and then the part 3 is an overlap of part 2 as far as the 3.5 year play on it. Each one should last 3.5 years, and then we'll see at that 3.5 year time frame the part 1 again. take the people back into the so-called 1955 or 1985 or the so-called 2015, okay? That would kind of contribute maybe a red empire, a blue empire, and then a purple empire, where the birth of the new America comes out of that one. But we'll see how it all plays out with the kingdoms. There might be 4 kingdoms, or there could be the 12 tribes for the 12 nations for those types of things. The 12 tribes can also be tied to like 12,000 people that are connected to this so-called preset extras, and these just kind of come to life in a time frame to where they help bring in that is real per se, to help the new heaven and earth give birth or whatever. And this could be as far as the people who gathered that way, or it could be other ways, or whatever. But so that's where you'd have the 2 and 3. Those give off a 3.5 year each, and then you'd have that 3.5 year of part 1 taking us in, and that sets us up to the 2032 time frame, where it takes us from 2023 to 2030, 2032 or whatever. And then you have the 2017, and in the middle of that you have the Corona crown coming out, okay? And then that's that spiritual time frame that told you, hey, this is it, because they shut down the world and all those things. And then as that was a 3.5 year time frame of that 7 year time frame, and then the 2020, 2021, that 3.5 year time frame of the COVID, that's only half done of the 7 years. But there's a middle time frame, and this is where new cards are being dealt as far as the 2s and 3s about what's been shown on the 1 and all those things. And that 1 is a reflection for the win, and that's where we have part 1 playing out as part 1, 2, and 3. And as it does that, that's where you have the part 1 shown again, okay? So after it's all said and done, and then that's also going to take us into other trilogies and epics and all those things, where you have part 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, 5, and 6, and those connects us to times on the calendars and the clocks and all those other things. But the so as the dawn loses his light, he's going under the tunnel. He's going to be going away. This is where he gathers up his kingdom. He goes into the underworld. As he goes into the underworld, his force of the people of the darkness come up from the abyss, as far as the Aquaman such, and that'd be part of her going down and coming up as Ariel, the Katy Perry connections with the VMA and those blow jobs and those types of things. Either way. So we'll end it here, folks.